Hi kids. I told you I'd give you an update on the plastic and how it's holding up with the Cert-Coat treatment that we did. Haven't done anything else to it since we did that video, and it's still looking really good. You can kind of see the difference between the treated part and the untreated part. This was something we never did anything to. You can see a little bit of over wipe there. But it's looking great, so it's time to go ahead and do the rest of the car. But first, I was at the junkyard looking for some parts for a friend of mine's car, and I came across this. The bumper cover off of, I don't remember what year, probably an 05 or something like that. It's in really great shape. It doesn't have any little squares poking through from running into stuff. It's got a license plate cover. That's like a $25 aftermarket item these days. So we're gonna prep this and install it on the front. But first, years ago when I was looking for some projects to do for the Element, I bought an aftermarket fog light kit because I wanted the fog lights in there. And as you know, the OEM Honda Element fog light kit is pretty much unobtainable. So I bought this aftermarket kit, and the lights they're glass, they're pretty good shape. The plating looks like crap. It does have the right brackets and all that. But I didn't like the wiring kit that came with it. The wiring kit was really cheesy. Came with like a toggle switch that you drill a hole in the dash and put on there, and I didn't want to mess with all that. Then I came across this. This is an OEM fog light kit for a Honda Pilot 2005. I got it pretty cheap off eBay. Came with the OEM lights, but it's got the wrong brackets. So I'm going to adapt the aftermarket brackets to the OEM lights and try and go through this weird assortment of parts that I've now got for a Honda Pilot, some of which I will never need, and see if we can rig this thing up to use Honda Pilot fog lights, OEM, on a Honda Element. The OEM Honda Pilot kit comes with, let's see, those are the aftermarket lights. Comes with these plastic inserts. I'm just going to show you what came with it. Comes with the fog lights. These are the plastic inserts that would go in your bumper on a Honda Pilot, the brackets that would hold the light, some wiring harness, which we may have to use. I'm kind of hoping we can use it. Relays, zip ties, comes with all kinds of good stuff. And most importantly, it comes with the instructions. But this isn't going to help me a whole lot because these are for a Honda Pilot. So I went on the interwebs and I printed off the OEM instructions for the Honda Element. So I'm thinking by cross-referencing this stuff and using my mixed bag of aftermarket and OEM parts, I'm going to come up with a pretty good Honda Element fog light kit. What do you think? I guess we'll know by the end of this video. So, according to the Element instructions, you start by removing the front bumper. Well, that's why I'm doing this now, because the front bumper's not on. But it tells us that we want to cut out the little round section for the fog light, and then we're going to probably have to cut out this top section where it says scribe line. There is a scribe line on there, I saw it. You could probably use anything you wanted to cut those out, a spoon or a butter knife or something like that. I'm going to use the handy dandy Victorinox Swiss Army knife, which I highly recommend. Do you not have a pocket knife yet? Do you not carry a pocket knife everywhere you go? What's wrong with you? I keep telling you, get a pocket knife, carry it all the time. All the time. How many times I gotta say it? Just be careful. This is probably the one spot where if you screw up, you kind of can't unscrew it. And it took me a little while to get a hold of this bumper cover. So I want to take care of it. There, let's get back where we're supposed to be. There, that looks decent enough for the girls we date. Now we have to cut this out, because it's where, let's see, the light mounts in like that. So it's where your adjustment goes, right? So if you want to aim your lights, which you should do if you're not a jerk, you should aim your lights so they're not blinding people. You have to be able to get to this screw. Carefuling, as Sarah says. If you guys don't watch Sarah and Toon and her projects on YouTube, you really need to. Love that girl. I've learned a lot from her. Meticulous in the work that she does. Absolutely meticulous. More meticulous than I'll ever be. trying to not remove any biomaterial while I do this, meaning my digits. It's really easy to let your knife get away from you and screw this up, so be careful. Let's go do the other side. All right, there's that one. Now with those cut out, you can kind of start to see how this goes. Whoops, they don't go like that, they go like that. And with the cutout, you've got enough room to adjust your light and get a screwdriver in here to the actual adjustment. So the next piece of this puzzle is I got to figure out how to get this bracket onto this light. So it looks like in order to get this mount off of the pilot light, we loosen this screw. And I think this just pops apart. Yeah, okay. So we loosen that screw, slide that down, and then this will all come apart because it's only held by these two holes and those two tabs. So that should work for that. If I'm going into more detail than usual, it's because this is a weird project and I haven't seen anybody ever do it before. So 5 screws out. Let's see what we got back here. Yeah, our Honda light is built better than the aftermarket light. You see how that goes together, and that the wiring actually goes through the housing instead of through the back like the cheapy aftermarket one. So this is a better built light. Got a couple of modifications I'm gonna have to make here because this backing cover is notched to fit these tabs. So I can either notch my back plate or I can cut those tabs off, and I'm gonna go with cutting those tabs off. You use whichever one helps you sleep at night. All right, now it will line up correctly. However, I've got 2 holes that don't actually line up with the holes in the light, so I'm gonna have to drill 2 holes here. And to do that, I'll use the OEM backing plate as a template for the new plate. Okay, so with some new holes drilled, we've got the aftermarket backing plate on the OEM light. Shut your cake hole, sir. I'll not argue with you longer. All right, so that is the, what is this? We decided this was the left one. Let's put the left one on, see what we got. Do I have the hardware for this? I don't know. Let's take a look at our instructions. Push pin, hole drill, fog light, cut marks, blah, 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 blah. Cut out. We did that part already. Throw that page away. All right, so we're going to need 4 screws per light. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think I have that many. What does the Pilot use? Does the Pilot use 4 per light? These are the screws you're going to need. They're small, kind of self-tapping sheet metal screws, but they work on plastic. Honda uses them on everything. The kit didn't come with this size, which is what the Element needs. But since they're so common on the Element, I took them out of the grill, and when I pull the other grill off the car, I'll just swap the bolts in, see? For right now, I want to get my lights installed. Make sure this whole idea is going to work. I know the grill's going to work because it's the same damn grill. The lights, not so much. So we need 4 of those screws. There's our OEM plug. So to pull this bumper cover off, we got to take off all the push pins along the front. There's a couple underneath the front, a couple of screws on the side, and 2 little bolts that are usually quite a booger to get out, but we'll give it a shot. If you're at a loss for this, we can come back over here and look at our junkyard one. We've got 1 bolt here, 1 bolt there, and then the push pins along the bottom. And these right here are often rusted, as this one was, and it often tears the splash guard. So I'll have to be careful taking that off of my car. So now I want to get the pins out of the bottom here. May need to take the splash guard off. These are the pliers that are supposed to make it really easy to pull out the body pins on Hondas. Let's see if that works. Ooh, look at that. Old man learns new trick. So once we've got all those push pins out, the two 10mm bolts, which are a mother to get out, and the couple of Phillips head screws, it just pulls off. It comes off pretty easy. There we go. These are the kinds of little pieces of hardware that I love to save because they make a big difference to me. These little connectors on here, they clip into this and they face down. That's to help keep water out of the connection. So this is where things might get weird. This is the wiring harness for the Pilot, but we are putting it in an Element. So is it gonna work? I don't know yet. Because I can, I will show you the part number off of this piece of the wiring harness. It's gonna plug in there, it's gonna plug in there, then it's gonna route through the bulkhead on the Element, and let's see how that goes. So as much as I can with this mutt collection of parts, I'm gonna stick with the factory directions and routing for the wiring, and we're gonna hook it up in the factory places. That means that we've got to take this wiring harness and we've got to find where this ground goes. This is a frame ground. Then there's a 1-pin connector and a multi-pin connector, and we got to figure out where all that goes. I've already looked at the instructions and it tells me that they go right here. This is how you route the wiring. This set of instructions, if I can find a link to them, I'll put it in the description. And you can download them yourself. This is for the 03 Honda Element wiring kit. So we will start by hooking up this ground. That is where the ground point is, back there. So we got to take that bolt out and hook our grounds to it. That's the first thing I'm going to do. Yay, it came loose. Yippity skippity dippity. All right, yes, so according to what I'm seeing, we're supposed to hook up the 1-pin connector to that 1-pin connector next to the ground. This is the 1-pin connector that's the factory wiring harness, and it is nasty, so I think I need to clean that up a little bit. This is a 20-year-old nasty ass connector. We want to clean this up or it will not work. Here's how old I am, guys. That's from Radio Shack. Let's see. That's got lubricating sealing gel and stuff in it. So, well, that is not going to go. Now, there it goes. Squish. All right, there's that. All right, that looks a little better. And as you can see, the blue wire with the red trace and blue wire with the red trace. That's because we're using factory color codes. Next thing I want to do is go ahead and route this fog light, which is this. Let's see. Does it go back up through there, or do I want to just go out front? I'm not sure. I'm not sure that this wire is as long as the one on the Element would be. Yeah, that's not going to be long enough. So we're going to go with a little bit different wire routing here. Now the Element one would actually come out through here and route down to our mounting point down here. But I don't have that much room because this is not for an Element. So I'm going to plug it in right here. And that's going to be our fog mount. This is going to be a hookup for a relay eventually. I'm going to put it next to the battery. And the rest of it is going to get tied in here with the rest of the factory light wiring and the fan wiring and all that stuff. Gonna route it down here. It's gonna come out down here. And that is gonna give us plenty of room to hook up our other fog light. I think we can all agree that zip ties are one of man's greatest inventions. there's where I'm gonna come out. Ugh. Sorry, wonderful camera angle, I know, but that will give me a little more room to take my bumper off in the future, and looks a little more like it ought to did. We'll tie it off down there with that wire. That will look pretty damn factory. All right, now that that wire's over there, this wire's over here, our ground's hooked up, our one wire's hooked up. We got another one wire. I'll have to figure out what I'm supposed to do with that. We're pretty well done under the hood at this point. I've got the one wire left to hook up, but I'm not sure where to hook it up just yet. That means now it's time to get up under the dashboard, my favorite part of working on cars. So last night I was sitting in a bathtub full of grape jelly, smoking a bong full of Fruit Loops when it occurred to me, I might actually have the under dash wiring harness for this car. This is what goes up underneath the dashboard, but it looks like the plug's cut off on this one, so I don't know how much use it'll be. However, I have another one. This is what happens when you go to the junkyard all the time. You just start snatching this stuff out. I kept coming across Honda Elements that had fog light kits put on them, but the front bumpers were gone and the lights were gone. So I reached up under the dash and snatched out the auxiliary wiring harness system. And then I threw them in here and I forgot about them. This one we're gonna try and put in the car. Let's see what happens. Put this up under the dash. So in order to install this, most of it's just under the dash here. There are some plugs right behind the subwoofer cover, so I want to get that cover off. To take that out, take something like this and poke this centerpiece in. And that pops right out. There it is. See that weird thing? So that should give us access to this wiring setup here. Clean those up a little bit because they funky. Let's see. These two plugs, I think, are the ones that go right there. See what we're doing? There's that one. Now we got to figure out where the rest of these go. We've got some stuff up in the dash we got to get to, and let's just jump on in. See this stuff up here with the blue tape on it? That is what we're after. Looking for blue tape all through this project. That's going to give us this brown connector with this blue wire with a red tracer on it. And that is going to hook to this brown connector, blue wire, red tracer. All right, so there's that brown connection, blue wire, red tracer. Here's the next one. This brown connector has a white wire with a red tracer. That's a heavier gauge wire. So that means we're pulling more current on this. Now we're looking in the fuse box. So if we look in the fuse box, you're going to see a bunch of fuses, the blue and red fuses down at the bottom. Above those, you're going to see two relays, two black relays sitting next to those two yellow fuses. Above that, you're going to see two plugs. Well, female receptacles for a plug, okay? The one on the right is the one that we want to plug into with this white wire. So let's do that. Yeah, so let's see here. There's our one plug that we've already done. Step number 25. 26 is switch harness, pin connector, light pin. All right, now we're up here. That's where we locate the piece of blue tape, remember? And plug that one in. Now we're down here to the white wire. See, I was right. The fuse box, it's the plug directly over the lowest rightmost relay. So let's plug that one in. That's the white wire with the red tracer. See there? Brown wire goes in the second receptacle. All right, next move here is to unplug the vehicle's 6-pin connector. We're going to insert a wire in there. However, if you look up here, you're going to see this is for automatic transmission only. I don't have an automatic transmission. So I'm going to skip down to 29. Manual transmission only. Plug this in. So I have to just insert something into that section of the fuse box. That is the 6-pin connector. that's gonna go up here above this relay. There's a slot for that connection above this relay. There we go. Oh, that one was pretty easy. All right, what's next? Up next, we're gonna hunt down this 12-pin connector, which is in the upper left corner of the fuse box. We're gonna unplug that, and I believe, okay, so we're gonna unplug that and insert this like we did on these. And then this piece should go into this, right? Am I right about that? Yeah. What do we do with the little green one? I don't know yet. This is kind of neat, that little 20 amp fuse thing. Snaps right into the bottom of the fuse box. So now we've added that fuse to our fuse collection here under the fuse box. Now it's gonna be time to, what's left? What's left is, that's the relay, and this is the plug to the actual fog light switch. So what's left now is to hook up the fog light switch and see what happens. All right, guys, I got the accessories on. I got the headlights on. Here's my switch. The lights don't work in the switch yet because my bulbs were blown because I robbed them to make the cruise control lights work, so I'll have to get some new bulbs. But I can hear the relay kicking in and out, so let's see what happens on the other end. All right, so now what do we got? Under the hood, we've got Honda Pilot wiring, completely stock. And under the dash, we've got Honda Element wiring, completely stock, nothing mudded together yet. This relay that is used on the Honda Pilot is not used on the Honda Element. But I've hooked it up, and we're gonna see if it's necessary for what we're doing. Now, the other thing I've got here is this wire. This is a 1-wire connector for the Honda Pilot. And if we go over here to the drawings to the Honda Pilot, it says that's supposed to go to a hot wire all the time. So I think we're gonna have to hook that up to power. But before we try all that, let's see what we've got just as we stand. Switch on, and we got no lights. So if I take this jumper wire and hook the white wire to power somewhere, what do we end up with? Still nothing. Oh, wait a minute. Ah, we got lights. We got lights. Let me see if my switches work for it. Fog light switch off. They're off. What about the headlight switch? That's with the headlights off, the auxiliary lights on. Yeah, man, it's working. Brights on. Whoops, nope. All right, there's our lights on high beam. High beam drops out the fog lights. That's a state requirement in some places. Man, they're working perfectly, absolutely perfectly. So all I've got to do is wire that white wire to somewhere hot. So I've mounted that relay, this is the Honda Pilot relay, here on this, whatever this is, this frame support bolt. Took that out, put that in there. That seems like a good place. Keeps everything out of the way, keeps the wiring out of the fan, which is really what I'm concerned about. I don't like stuff rattling around under my hood. I'm gonna make a jumper here and hook straight into the battery for that particular one, and I'll have to watch for the next few days for like parasitic drain and make sure I didn't backfeed somewhere or something. So that's it for this episode, kids. I want you to remember that they don't make this car anymore, and they don't make these accessory kits anymore. And even if you go to the junkyard and find an element that's all smashed up in the front, take a look inside, see if it's still got the wiring harness, the switches, all that. That stuff's harder to get than the lights. The lights you can get from other kits, obviously. These are from a Honda Pilot. So this is a project I've been wanting to do for a little while, and I watched a lot of videos on YouTube of people putting fog light kits on a Honda Element, and hardly anyone was using any factory parts. They were all using the little eBay or Amazon aftermarket kits that are pretty cheesy. That's where I got my brackets for these. It came out of that kit. But that's the only thing that came out of the cheese ball kit. The front end wiring harness is out of the Honda Pilot. We had to make one workaround with that red and white wire. Under the dash, all Honda factory. So I'd say about 98% of this setup is Honda. About 50% of it is Element. About 50% of it is Pilot. And it's working just great. Fits in, tucks away. It's got all the cool accessories like Honda zip ties and all that fun stuff. There is one other little modification that I would like to try at a future point, but we're not going to get into that today. And I want to remind you guys that they're not making the Honda Element anymore. So if you're at the junkyard, even if you see one that's all smashed up, couldn't possibly have anything you need on it, look under the dash, see if it's got the keyless entry, the alarm system, you know, that kind of stuff. See if it's got the wiring harness for the fog light kit. May end up being worth something. Let's keep these things alive. And remember, if you really want to do this, you can do it. I promise. See you next time.